Well, Russell, thank you so much for
You're welcome.
for meeting with me
Yeah,
today.
thank you.
For being on the podcast today. And so, tell me a little bit about yourself growing up, and then how you got into fitness as well.
Yeah, cool. All right, so I'm English, grew up in England. Played a lot of sport as a kid, team sports, so soccer, football, we call it. Cricket were the two main sports really in England. So played that from a very young age, all through high school. Continued that when I started working, so started a career in banking in 1986. And then moved over to the US, moved to New York in 1997, September 97. So I was in banking for a total of 29 years. So I ended up actually quitting that job in March of 2015.
15, so recently then, like 2
years
ago.
So 3.5 years ago.
Okay.
Throughout that time, I just continued to play soccer. Like moving over here, found a bunch of English guys, and we played soccer together. Started playing golf, skiing, that sort of thing, but never really enjoyed going to a gym.
Okay.
What we would call a Globo gym now, right? I didn't really have any idea what I was doing. I had no idea what all the machines did, so I'd end up doing the same thing whenever I would go, which wasn't very frequent. But you'd run a mile on a treadmill and do some bicep curls and wonder what all the machines did, and then you'd leave without barely breaking a sweat. So I moved to Jersey City in April 2012, and I was driving down Christopher Columbus one day and saw this sign for CrossFit Jersey City opening soon. And I sort of seem to remember thinking to myself, I think I've heard of CrossFit, but I'm not sure what it is. So, checked it out. There was a website up, and they were going to be opening. So joined. They eventually opened in November 2012.
2012. Okay.
Yeah. So coming up on 6 years ago. 3 guys, Mike, Tim, and Eddie, opened the gym together at that time. So came in, did the first fundamentals class that they held, which I think was 6 or 8 classes, if I remember rightly. Might have been 8.
They gave you 8 classes?
8 classes. I think it was 8 fundamentals. It might have been 6.
Oh, okay.
I seem to remember it was like 2 a week for a month, something like that.
Gotcha, okay.
And I'm not going to say I sort of loved it at first. I didn't really drink the Kool-Aid immediately. I did enjoy it. I wasn't a big fan of the weightlifting type movements. I'd never done it before, and I just had this association in my mind that weightlifting was done by 300-pound Bulgarian guys on steroids. That's the sort of thing I'd see watching on TV at home. So the first few months, I was definitely what we call a cherry picker of workouts. I'd see what the workout is, and if there was a barbell involved, would probably avoid it.
You check the schedule before, and you're like, I don't want to do that today, so I'm not going to go.
Exactly. But after a while, you realize that, I started to enjoy the barbell stuff. And you do realize that you can get through any workout, irrespective of what's involved, through either just going a little bit lighter or scaling, modifying the workout, the movements or whatever. So I probably after about 3 to 6 months, I started coming frequently, right? And definitely got to that place where if I didn't come, I missed it. Right.
So you started building it became a habit essentially, right?
Exactly.
You really enjoyed it, and you decided, I'm gonna keep going. I can't stop going, right? It's kind of like what I'm the situation I am right now. I can't miss. I have to go to the gym 5 times a week, and the weekends are my days off. But I have to, I have to fit it in regardless. Like if it's at 10 o'clock at night or if it's before the podcast,
Right.
Like I have to do it or else I'm not myself.
Yeah.
It's probably the same way you were feeling. It's like you were like, I just have to go.
Yeah, exactly. And I started to see results as well. When I was 44 when I started it in November 2012. I was about 245 pounds probably at my peak, as it were. I don't think anyone would ever looked at me and said he looks fat. 6'3", 6'4", could sort of carry it off. But when I look at pictures of myself now on a beach, right, I definitely had a dad bod before dad bods and hashtag dad bods were a thing. So I did start to see the results as well from consistently working out, and obviously there's the nutrition side of things that, you know, we would have regular nutrition challenges. So, you know, I got down within a couple of years to, you know, sort of 210, 215.
Got it.
And then when I started taking things a lot more seriously, got down to about 200, 205, which is where I am now, and stay there pretty consistently. So,
what were some challenges that you faced, like while you were, you know, fighting to get into, not, I wouldn't say a routine or a habit, but like, you know, just to come to the gym and, or, you know, it could also be emotionally or physically. Like, what kind of challenges were you facing during that time?
Well, I had a job, right? I had a corporate job in banking, which was an early start in the mornings. Tend to be in at 6:30, 7. Didn't tend to work too late, done by sort of 5 or 6 most days. So I could get into a routine, and I would typically come to the evening classes. But, you know, those days where you might be traveling, or you know, you had a late night the night before or something like that, which, you know, as anyone with a corporate job knows, right, work gets in the way of your routine.
Right.
And you know, we accept that and hear about that all the time. So just finding the time on the days where my routine wasn't the regular routine to come in and work out was a challenge. But, you know, where there's a will, there's a way, right? So if it meant literally going to bed in my gym clothes to wake up at 5:15 and run here to get here for the 5:30 a.m. class, you know, I would do that, right? Because that was preferable to me than just staying under the covers for an extra hour and making the excuse, oh, I couldn't go today.
Right, so you found the time to, you know, make make that effort to come to the gym.
Yeah.
How was that transition, you know, going into like CrossFit and then opening up a CrossFit gym?
Yeah. So the bigger transition was going from working in a bank to working for yourself. Right.
So give me one quick question. So you said this gym opened in 2012, right?
Yep.
And you moved here in 2015. Or you
No, I moved to Jersey City in April 2012.
2012.
The gym opened in November 2012.
Okay.
I quit my corporate job in March 2015.
Okay.
And then I bought the gym when we closed on April 1st, 2016.
Got it. Okay.
So I've owned the gym for 2.5 years.
2 years. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So if you could talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I'd been in the bank, or in banking, for 29 years. It wasn't fun anymore. It used to be a lot of fun. I was in foreign exchange, so sales and trading. So a very sort of dynamic environment, right? Reacting to news and exchange rates and things like that.
When I picture what you just mentioned, I picture of that movie Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah.
Was it exactly the same?
I mean, not exactly the same, but, you know, not dissimilar, right? And not necessarily the behavior, but just that environment of everyone sitting close together, reacting to markets and sort of enjoying success together. You know, which when you think about it is not dissimilar to CrossFit, right? You know, you're working out very closely with a bunch of other people, and you all celebrate each other's successes. You know, react to the workout and all that sort of thing. So it's the first time I've really thought about that, but it's not dissimilar. So anyway, you know, I've been doing it for a long time. It wasn't fun for me anymore. I wasn't passionate about it. So I was unhappy for a couple of years, and then finally just took the plunge to quit. Took a year off, just traveled a little bit and just relaxed. Right? As I say, after 29 years, I sort of felt like I deserved a bit of a rest. And then I was working with one of the 3 owners that originally opened this gym to try and open another one out in the suburbs of New Jersey. Okay. And we were looking around for quite a long time. We never quite found the right space, so that never happened. But then one of the other owners approached me, you know, heard that I was interested in sort of getting involved in the business, and asked if I'd like to buy his stake in CrossFit Jersey City. But it was only really going to make sense if I was going to make this my sort of full-time job, something that was going to support me without having to do something else. I needed to buy the whole thing. So the other 2 guys got on board. So cut long story short, as I say, ended up closing and buying the gym in April 2016.
And right now you're
10 years ago.
the owner only of
Yep.
CrossFit Jersey
Yeah,
City?
I'm the sole owner right now.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, so can you talk a little bit about those challenges now? Because I'm sure you know, when you open up a gym, you know, and especially taking over the entire gym and buying everyone out, you know, I'm sure you had to deal with, you know, some sort of challenges, whether that is bringing in more people in, whether that is, you know, financially sustaining the business,
Yep.
or learning about the fitness industry more. And so, yeah, just talk a
Yeah.
little bit about that.
So I was very fortunate, you know, having been a member of the gym for several years, you know, I knew that it wasn't something that needed fixing, right? I knew it was successful. I knew there was a good membership base. I knew we had good coaches. So it wasn't like a tough decision. It wasn't like a risky decision to say, should I buy this gym?
Got it, okay.
From that perspective. But I think what I didn't fully appreciate is how much more there goes into running a gym, and probably any business as an entrepreneur. It's not just a case of walking in the door, turning the lights on, you know, having a coach show up and coach a class and then leave and turn the lights off. You know, there's a lot more to it behind the scenes, right? You know, dealing with members, dealing with you know, new membership inquiries. You know, one of the coaches that was here when I bought it left very soon after I bought it to take up a corporate role. But I think we've been very fortunate in hiring new coaches and recruiting new coaches that fit in with our culture, that have been very successul.
Right, and that's a really important part, especially in the CrossFit industry, because culture is if not, it is the key seller to having or bringing in more customers. Because, you know, that's what people kind of look for, the culture, the community, and of course the trainers, right?
Yeah, it's very hard. You know, when someone comes in and says, "Oh, I'd like to try CrossFit," it's very hard to sort of sell them on the culture because they're not really going to see it immediately, right? They're not going to experience it. Now, you know, they will see a class going on. They will see a snapshot of it, of you know, people cheering each other on. But anyone can say, "Oh yeah, our gym's got a great culture." Right? You know, until you're actually experiencing it and you've been here for a while, you don't know whether that's true or not. Fortunately, I think, you know, ours is true, and I know that because I'll take members out for coffee every now and again, and one of the questions I ask them is, you know, what keeps you coming back? You've been doing CrossFit for 6 months or 3 years, right? And yet you still come back consistently 3 days a week, 4 days a week, 5 days a week. And for most people, their first response is the culture and the community. And, you know, the second response is the results, right? But, you know, and I knew myself when, you know, I'd been here a couple of years, and there was something going on in, you know, my personal life. I was, you know, contemplating moving, right? And I actually didn't want to move away from Jersey City because of the gym, right? The thought of sort of going to another CrossFit gym and sort of having to reestablish yourself somewhere else, actually kept me here, because I love the community here. Right. So, you know, so I think, as I say, it wasn't something that needed fixing when I bought it. We've continued that tradition, that community. You know, maybe we've improved it a little bit, but as I say, didn't need fixing. So you know, it was easy from that perspective. Now, if we sit down again in 6 or 9 months' time, we can talk about this all over again, because I'm now opening a second gym from scratch.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Is it? I'm assuming it's not around here though, right?
It's in Journal Square, which is only 2 miles away.
Oh, that's interesting.
But far enough to be, you know, like a very separate neighborhood.
Got it. Okay.
With you know, for the most part, will be a different membership base. There will be some of our members that actually live closer to the new location that may go there.
Is it going to be under the same company, the same brand, Jersey City?
So it's going to be called CrossFit Accomplished.
Okay.
Yep, you can't have 2 locations with the same name. So we've had to, you know, call it a different name.
And why is that? Why do you think you can't have a location?
Just CrossFit HQ's rules.
Interesting, because there's a gym that has 2 locations, and they're under the same. Well, I wouldn't say this. Well, yeah, kind of. It's just they just added a 2 at the end of the name.
Right. So that's it. Yeah.
Okay. So that's I guess that's
the
like,
difference.
You know, the difference. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, so we're in the process of designing that and doing the build out for that. So hopefully we'll open.
So now you're actually gonna get into the whole building a CrossFit gym from the ground up.
Right,
So
starting
now
one
it's
from
like,
scratch.
Now you're gonna start facing those challenges. You're gonna be like, okay, now how can I establish this as a brand? How can I keep it as a different identity from Jersey City?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not so worried about keeping it as a different identity.
Okay.
We'd actually like to have the same identity, right? We'd like people to see, whether they came here or go there, they're going to get a very similar experience.
Right.
But whereas when I bought this place, I wasn't sort of sat at the front desk worrying about when the next person was going to walk through the door. Whereas there, I'm going to be worried about how many people are walking through the door.
Do you have anything in plan so far? Like, how are you going to handle that situation once you start, building that gym?
Yeah, so we'll do some marketing until we actually start the build out, which should be sometime in the next month or so, just depending on permits. Then we can sort of start to market it a little bit more aggressively, because we'll be able to say coming in February 2019 or whenever it will be. But yeah, and I say we, me and obviously coaches and whatever I'm working with. So it is a collective we. We'll put some stickers up in the window. The website's being built, so we can start to collect interest from people. If someone wanted to do fundamentals and we weren't quite ready there yet, they could always do fundamentals here and then move their membership there. And we'll probably allow people to. One membership will get you access to both gyms.
Oh, okay, that's cool, because now it's kind of like a win-win for that customer, because if they're, I don't know, let's say on the other side of town, and instead of driving through the traffic at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, they can just come here, or vice versa, right?
Yep,
so exactly. It's a win-win. Okay.
Yeah. So lots of details still to sort out, but it's a completely different experience, starting one from scratch rather than buying one which was already a success.
Right. So with marketing, the marketing aspect of it, are you going to be using? So I'm assuming you'll be using social media for that, right?
Yeah, we'll have some Facebook ads, which we're just starting to kick off for here. We're pretty fortunate that we've never really had to do a lot of marketing, just with the growth of the population of Jersey City. We do get a lot of people coming here that want to try CrossFit. But there's a lot more options coming to town, right? With that population growth, other gyms, not necessarily CrossFit gyms, are opening up. So we just need to step up our marketing game a little bit. So we'll be doing some Facebook ads.
What you mean by marketing? Is it just advertising, or creating content and putting it out there, or being really involved,
both.
Like creating videos, how-to videos? Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so I mean, the marketing in terms of Facebook ads,
okay.
Right? We'll be building out some of those. Definitely stepping up our social media content, doing that. And yeah, I think in this day and age, when that sort of initial offering you have, right, to try and attract someone, you need like an ebook. Right, or a series of video
so you're talking about
instructions.
The top of the funnel, which is essentially how to bring people to come in. Yeah. So, in fact, I did run Facebook ads for the CrossFit gym that I was working with, that I told you before.
Okay. Yep.
And that's what I proposed to him. I was like, hey, can I help you with marketing, advertising? And you were right on the ballpark. You do have to bring him in, and whether that is a lead magnet, which could be an ebook, or a how-to series, or just a fundamental class. So there's definitely various ways to bring people in, and the cool thing about social media, and not just Facebook advertising, is that you can bring organic traffic, right? And in terms of getting your content in front of everyone's faces, and eventually driving them through a funnel, which is essentially to go on your website and sign up for a free class, and then become a member.
Yeah, exactly.
So are you? I'm assuming you have someone for that already, because you have just you're opening up another gym, and now you got to handle you get two different operations here, right?
Yeah.
So can you talk a little bit more about how your approach is for that? For people that wanna. Because you're just opening up a new gym, right? Let's say other gym owners want to open up a new gym. What would be like the first approach to when it comes to marketing? Like, what would be the main focus?
I think you have to keep it real, right? And by that I mean, if you look at our social media, we focus, it's all about our members, right? We sort of think it's regular people or ordinary people, like you and me, doing extraordinary things, right? I don't think there's any point having a class of people that look like Rich Froning and Matt Fraser, lifting 300 pounds overhead, because that's going to put a lot of people off, thinking, oh, I have to be jacked before I can even step into the gym. No, I'm pretty confident that the second gym will be a success as well. Just again, given the growth of Jersey City as a whole and how everything is pushing out west. I think if you look at what Jersey City was 6-7 years ago compared to what it is now, you look at what Journal Square is now, and if we can fast forward 6 or 7 years and look back, I think you're going to see a very similar sort of growth trajectory of Journal Square to what downtown Jersey City has experienced. So I would expect there to be a lot of demand as the population grows in Journal Square. So just staying positive and thinking it's going to be a success and not having to worry about contingency plans.
Right. Well, if the area is doing well, then all the businesses do well as well.
Yep.
Right?
Exactly.
And especially as we move forward as a society and technology and everything is going to keep continuing to progress, like you said. And it's cool because you have New York right next, across the Hudson River. So I don't think foot traffic would be a problem for you.
Right.
That's like you said. You're pretty confident that you're gonna kill it, essentially.
Yeah, hopefully.
You're gonna kill it. So
that's the plan.
So what are the main differentiators between your CrossFit right now, Jersey City, and other competitors?
Right. That's a good question that we get asked a lot, and I haven't spent much time at all, in our competitors' gyms or other types of gym. So I don't really know what they're doing. I know some people could criticize me for that, but I'd like to think, as long as we continue to do what we believe is getting people the results, in a way that is fun and challenging, then let's not worry about what other people are doing, right? Let them worry about what we're doing. And as long as we continue to see membership growth, and it doesn't have to be exponential, right? We're in a relatively small space, so our capacity is somewhat limited. Just keep providing what the members want, right, or need.
And how do you figure that? How do you find that out? Like, do you you did mention that you take them out to coffee, but do you kind of like do surveys? Do you ask them during class? Like, what would be your approach for like maybe other gym owners to get feedback from their customers, essentially?
Yeah. So we do surveys. We ask what people want, what they like and don't like. I'm also a member of a really, really strong mentoring group called Two Brain Business. That's about 400-500 gyms strong, right, across the world, where we share a lot of ideas amongst ourselves, right? So I can take a lot of good ideas that other gyms are doing that I know is successful, and implement them here. Right, so it's not like we have to invent everything ourselves. Just that collective brain trust from the mentor group is a huge help.
That's honestly like really interesting that you mentioned that, because as I hear people online and when I talk to people, one of the big things is mentorship. And in order to be, I wouldn't say in order to be successful, but it's a big factor towards the right direction and becoming successful, right? The mentorship and surrounding yourself around the right people.
Absolutely.
So like, how can as a business owner, yourself and myself and maybe potential business owners, what would you suggest for someone to like, or how would you suggest someone to get mentorship?
Yeah.
Or how to join that group that you're in?
Right.
Maybe?
I mean, just go out and find one.
Okay.
Right. You might have to try 2 or 3 until you find the one that's right for you. But I would say don't think that you need to have all the answers yourself, or you're going to have all the answers yourself. Even if you think you have them, you probably don't. And if you do, then share them with someone else, right? Make someone else successful as well. So, yeah, find a mentor. You know, even the guy that runs my mentor group has a mentor, right? So, you know, you can never not learn from someone else and someone else's experience. So,
yeah, learning is you're always learning. You know?
Yeah,
it's every day you're learning something new.
Yeah, so I'm really grateful for that mentor group. You know, that's helped me a lot. You know, both with the existing gym and some of the things we've done here, and thinking about, you know, getting advice on the things I need to think about for the second gym. You know, because I haven't done that before.
Got it. And is that online or is that in person? The mentorship?
It's a mixture.
It's a mixture. Okay.
Yeah. So there's a lot of online content. Obviously, Facebook groups.
Yeah, those are huge. Those are like every business now has a Facebook group for their members, especially for CrossFit. I don't know, do you have one?
We do.
Yeah, I see that, and they're big because you get a lot of engagement in those groups, you know, and it's like, it's part of the culture, like you said, you know, it's now it's online,
right?
Whereas here it's, you know, in person and offline.
Yeah, it's no different to, you know, being in touch with your family, right? It's just an extended family. So find a mentor. You know, be open to new ideas, right? As I say, don't think you have to know it all yourself. Be open to new ideas. And yeah, it's certainly helping me through this new phase of opening a gym.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. So, like, what are your thoughts on the fitness industry in general? You know, where do you think it's going, or what can be improved, maybe specifically in the CrossFit industry?
Yeah, I think the overall level of coaching can be improved. You know, there's a difference between sort of coaching and like what I call cheerleading, right? And I think, you know, some of the very popular you know, workout routines are really led by cheerleaders. You know, they're not necessarily coaching you to get better at whatever you're doing, right? Whereas in CrossFit, then obviously the coaching and coaching people to move better, you know, to have correct form if they're using a barbell and that sort of thing, is vitally important, right? You know, you mentioned injuries a few minutes ago, and you know, I think it's important for anyone that's thinking about doing CrossFit, that's worried about injuries. You have to remember, CrossFit didn't invent any of the things that we do in a CrossFit gym, right? None of this is really proprietary to CrossFit. You know, people have been lifting weights and you know, doing muscle ups and pull ups and rowing, right? For years and years and years and years and years, like way before CrossFit was even a thing. So, you know, injuries come down to, you know, probably poor coaching or what I call poor membershiping. So just members making bad decisions and, you know, not leaving their ego at the door and trying to lift too heavy with bad form or something like that. So I think, you know, the overall standard of coaching can probably go up, right, and should go up. And I think people are gravitating more towards, you know, a CrossFit, an Orange Theory, a Soul Cycle type gym than a New York Sports Club, you know, or an Equinox where you're just left to do your own thing. You know, where for the vast majority of people, they're not going to challenge themselves.
So you think the fitness industry is going more towards like group-oriented?
Group-oriented, coach-led.
Coach-led, right.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm sure there's going to be definitely challenges for you know, for just any business who, especially in the CrossFit, you know, who are, because it's all group-led. What would be your approach, or how would you convince someone to like join CrossFit? For you know, someone that's never done CrossFit before,
right?
Like, what would be your pitch to them, essentially? I'm curious. Like, okay, so for example, me, I tried CrossFit, like I said before, And I mentioned like I'm not ready just to move on to CrossFit, right?
Yep.
So I go to my typical regular local gym. I go to Retro and I lift, right? So how would you convince me as a person that I really like go to the gym just to forget about everything and kind of like just lift and let everything out, where no one's bothering me. I have my headphones in and I'm just go straight and just kill my workout. Like how would you convince someone like me where I'm so focused on just going in because I feel so good, just being at the gym by myself, just working out. How would you convince me?
Well, I might not, right? So it depends what your goals are, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend that we're going to help you achieve all of your goals. Maybe CrossFit won't help you achieve what your goals are.
So it boils down to what the goals are.
So yeah, that's pretty much the first question I ask people when they come in is, what are your fitness goals, right? And then, it really comes down to how committed are you to those goals, right? And I think if you're committed to those goals and, someone else is going to be affected, someone close to you, a family member, a spouse, whatever, is going to be affected if whether you achieve those goals or not. Definitely helps sort of crystallize people's intention of why they're coming to a gym. Maybe they have goals and they've been going to a gym and they're not achieving those goals, right? So why is that? Well, you're not pushing yourself hard enough. You're going to push yourself a lot harder when you're working out with a group of other people. And I think they've done studies that show your results improve by about 20% when you work out in a group.
It's so true.
Right?
Remember I mentioned like I used to hate doing squats, and that day I just broke a limiting belief essentially. I was like, you know what? This is not hard. It's not intimidating. It's like if they can do it, I can do it too. Yep. That's honestly one of the biggest factors one of the biggest things that I got out of a CrossFit class, that whole pushing each other, which I really, really enjoy.
Yeah, because no one's going to let you quit, right? You're at a gym by yourself and you don't really feel like it, you're going to quit.
Yeah, and especially because you don't know them too,
Right.
You see them occasionally here and there because they become, the regulars.
Yep.
But it's just like, if there's no like interaction, then it just doesn't go further than that.
Right.
And if you don't do it, you don't do it.
Right, and you're not really letting anyone else down.
Yeah,
if you walk
exactly.
away. And in a CrossFit gym, not that you're necessarily letting other people down, but you're going to be way more aware that you're letting yourself down when you've got 14 other people and a coach expecting you to carry on.
That's so true.
Right.
It's kind of like accountability, essentially.
It's exactly what it is. So so it comes down to your goals. So I'd talk to you about your goals. I'd ask you about your goals. How committed you are to those goals. And CrossFit is a little bit more expensive than paying your $10 for Planet Fitness or whatever. But on the other hand, we're way more invested in your success than the front desk person at Planet Fitness might be. Right. If we don't see you for a week, we'll call you or email you and find out where you are. Right? Yeah.
I actually haven't heard someone say that to me. Where they call you and reach out and be like, "Hey, what's happening?"
We want you to come.
Got it.
Right. We're not trying to sell you a cheap membership and sort of hope you don't show up. We're selling you a premium membership for a premium service, and we want you to show up.
Got it. Okay.
Right. So I
feel like gyms don't do that.
Very different business model. Yeah.
Yes.
So when you're all in it together, right, the chances of success are obviously a lot higher. And when you start to see results, you're going to just want to continue.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, certainly that was my experience. I gave it a go. It took some time to really fall in love with it. But when I did and I started seeing the results, I kept going.
You loved it.
You
knew, you saw the results, you had a good experience, and it's a win-win. It was a win-win, And your lifestyle kind of changed, I'm assuming, maybe just a little bit because you're already into like sports.
Yeah. It changed a lot. You're more aware of what you're eating, right? You're more aware of how your body feels when you don't eat, that well.
So how would you kind of like hold someone accountable, like a gym member? Let's say they've been coming consistently, but they really enjoy the community, let's say, but they're just not seeing the results. And it's probably because of the eating habits, right? So what would be your approach to that, to helping that person achieve those results?
I think if they're not seeing the results that they really want to see, then they'll take charge of that, and either they'll come to us and say, hey, I'm not seeing the results, and is it the programming or is it the fact that I eat McDonald's every night?
Yeah.
Well, it's probably McDonald's.
Yeah.
Right. If they're not unhappy, right, maybe they're not quite where they want to be, but they still come in 3, 4, 5 times a week. They give it everything in class. They have a good time. They leave with a smile on their face and they enjoy it. Then, I'm not going to say to them, oh, you need to lose another 10 pounds of weight, right? We're here to provide a good time, not to create an army of people with 10 to 15% body fat,
right.
That actually leave the gym and the next hour is going to be miserable because someone's told them they've got to eat chicken and broccoli, whereas they really would love to go and have a pizza, right? Yeah. Go and have your pizza. You've just sweated your ass off for an hour, burnt 200, 300, 400 calories. Go and have the pizza if you want it, right? Maybe not every night, but again, it all depends on what the goals are, right. How committed they are to those goals, and really what they want to achieve from coming here.
Got it, okay.
And that's going to vary person by person. Right, so it's the coach's job to make sure people are scaling the movement or have the right weight on the bar to achieve the stimulus of the workout that we're aiming for. That's class by class, right? On a micro level, that one class is not going to have a huge effect on someone's long-term goals. Right. So you don't really do it class by class, right? You do it over a period of time. We've just implemented, you'll probably take a video of it later, this thing called the level method. Okay. Which is this sort of bringing the concept of the coloured belts in martial arts to CrossFit, right? So there's 15 different tests that we do that sort of encompass all the various things that you do in CrossFit in terms of lifting weights and energy systems that you're using and all that sort of stuff. Once people have done those 15 tests, there's you can map out their results. So you can see they have some yellows and some oranges and some blues. So that enables us to identify people's relative strengths and weaknesses, right? So we might say, oh, someone's really strong and they can lift a lot of weight, but they couldn't last 20 minutes on the rower, right? Or they can't run a mile in less than 8 minutes. So, if you really want to get sort of overall better at CrossFit and just become all around fitter, right? If you want, you're going to have to work on your weaknesses. So, we can recommend various things to them. Come to this class, and this class this week. They're the ones where we're going to be doing more of a sort of aerobic capacity type workouts, right? If they've got a good engine but they're not as strong, come to strength class on a Thursday, come to heavy day on Tuesday, right?
That's
that sort
really
of thing.
Cool. I really like that then because it kind of tells the person where they sit.
Yeah.
Essentially, right?
Yeah.
Like, hey, you're not good at this, and you got to improve this part of it,
right?
Of whatever you're trying to get, right?
Yep.
Wherever you're trying to get.
Yeah. And your overall level is going to be based on your weaknesses as opposed to your strengths or an average. So, while we're not going to be giving out coloured belts with the little notches on.
Pretty cool though.
Yeah.
Coming to class with a coloured belt.
Yeah. If you had a lot of blues and a couple of oranges or yellows, and you wanted to be an overall blue, you're going to have to work on those couple of things that are still in the yellow and orange zone to get you into the blue zone to be like a blue concept. Belt, as it were.
Yeah, no, I really, really like that concept. Yeah. And I haven't really seen that anywhere else.
Yeah, it's fairly new. I don't think there's that many gyms have it right now. But again, that came out of being part of my mentor group.
So how does that work? Oh, okay, got it. Okay, so how does that work? Like, do you evaluate the person every day they come in, or?
No, we do the 15 different tests standard. We've just completed our first round of testing. So over about 7-8 weeks, we tested 1 or 2 things every Monday. So people that came consistently or made it up during some open gym time, know what their levels are, and then we'll actually retest every 3 or 4 months, something like that, 2 or 3 times a year. And then if someone does level up, right? They go from an overall, say, an orange 3 to a blue or a blue 1, mm-hmm. then we'll make a big fuss of them. And if that's something they really, really want to do, then maybe they'll do a couple of private coaching sessions, right, to really work on some weaknesses. Mm-hmm. If they, as I say, if they don't care, if they just want to come in and have a good time, and they don't care whether they're yellow or blue or purple, that's great.
What do you see the most often, I guess in general and mm-hmm. in your gym? Do you get a lot of people that are very motivated to go and like hit certain goals, or they just come because they love it so much?
It's a mixture.
It's a mixture of both?
Yeah, absolute mixture. Yeah. And what you find is, some people that maybe start out with, I'm just doing this because I enjoy it. Mm-hmm. Once they start to get better at things, then they start to take it a little bit more seriously.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with that.
We used to have, when I first joined here, or a couple of years after I first joined, the 8 p.m. class on weekdays mm-hmm. Was very much a social class, right? It was pretty much the same people all the time. They would all go out for dinner afterwards, and I don't think I'm going to offend anyone if they see this by saying they weren't taking it, as seriously as some other people. Yeah. But now there are some of those people that were regulars in that 8 p.m. class, and now probably some of the stronger, members of the gym in terms of their overall CrossFit levels. So,
they gradually progress towards that kind of competitiveness, which is, it's good for them and for the business also.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, in my experience, not many of the people that have left here have left because they didn't really enjoy it anymore. Mm-hmm. I think most of our members leave because they're moving away. Jersey City is sort of fairly transitional mm-hmm. type area, overall relatively younger, probably fewer families, and then as people have kids and want to move to a house or something, then they move out to the suburbs, something like that. So our membership base is pretty stable.
Got it. Okay. So that's not a problem. Is that going to be a problem for the other gym then?
No. I don't think people leave here looking for something different, because CrossFit gives you pretty much everything you sort of could really want, right? Mm-hmm. Do you want to get stronger? Okay, well then focus on the weightlifting side of things. Do you want to get better at running, right? Run marathons. Well, weightlifting will help, but come in and do some of the longer metcons and that sort of thing. Let's build up your anaerobic endurance. Do you want to get better at gymnastics, right? Do you want to get better at swinging from trees and doing cartwheels and stuff? Then come in and have a good time and join the gymnastics classes.
So what is like your ultimate vision, personally and mm-hmm. maybe even also, professionally with your business? Yeah. Kind of interested to hear where you're, coming from a background of being in the financial industry and then being in the fitness industry now. Yeah. What would be your ultimate vision?
Well, so, everyone in our mentor group sort of has a vision, I think, of ultimately, owning, whether it's a gym or some other assets, and having those businesses run themselves, and then we're off having what we call our perfect day, mm-hmm. which is going to change for everyone. But having the right people running the businesses that you don't need to worry about things on a day-to-day basis, right? So for me, if we, this place, I'm very fortunate that we've got some really good staff here, that I don't have to be here, and do a lot in the gym itself to keep the business running. The head coach and gym manager does a phenomenal job of that. The coaches are superb. I don't have to worry about coaching standards. We have a community manager, we have a social media person, we have a front desk person, and they all do a phenomenal job. The cleaning crew we got are great. So if I can sort of replicate that at CrossFit Accomplished, mm-hmm. Who knows, right? Will there be a third gym? I don't know. Got to worry too much about the second one first. But yeah, just having the right people in the right seats on the bus. In the right roles for them, mm-hmm. right? Making sure that they're happy doing what they're doing. and then I can, I'm 50 next year, right?
Oh,
so
okay.
I'm getting close to that age. Yeah, I don't call it retirement, but getting close to that age where I, spend more time on me than on work,
right?
as
so
it were.
So you're pretty much wanna work. I like this analogy a lot. It's like you don't want to work in the business, you want to work on the business.
On the business, yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
You want to alleviate all that stress, if anything, and the work to or, a team that you can trust.
Yeah. But, I still love being here. I still come here every day, pretty much. And I still work out with the coaches in the afternoons, and I'm still here, most evenings for an hour or two, talking with the members, and maybe a morning or two a week as well, seeing the people that tend to work out in the mornings. And Saturday mornings I tend to be here all morning, and occasionally on a Sunday. So I love being here, right? But again, having to be here and wanting to be here are two different things.
Different things, right? So how do you structure your day around that?
I'm definitely not at the point yet where I don't like being here. I don't like the job or anything like that. It's only 2.5 years in, so it's still somewhat of a novelty to me. And then I've got the new challenge of the new place, which is very different, something I've never done before. So that's exciting. I get every day excited thinking about what we're going to do there. In terms of structuring my day, my sort of mornings, through to about 2 o'clock are just spent, doing gym admin, right? Or, I'm studying like a health coaching course, which is an online course for a year, which involves a couple of hours work a day. So my sort of mornings are pretty filled up with doing things. And then I'd say I come here around 2:30. Most of the most days the coaches were all here together. So we're sort of mixing in, doing our workouts, testing out the class workouts that we've got programmed, and doing a little bit of our own thing. Talking about the gym, bouncing ideas off each other. It's a good couple of hours in the afternoon. As I say, our evening classes start at 5. I do all what we call a no sweat intro, so someone that's looking to come and try CrossFit. I'll spend 20-30 minutes with them, talking about their goals, talking about CrossFit, how CrossFit can help them achieve their goals. So I normally do, 1 or 2 of those, not every night, but probably 3 or 4 nights a week. I've got a couple of those going on. So that keeps me here for another couple of hours. And then I've got this 4-legged thing with a lot of energy to work out with as well. So she needs a lot of exercise. So I'm out with her for like 45 minutes to an hour, 3 times a day.
So you're pretty much booked all day.
Day
you're booked. Well structured. It seems like.
Yeah. And I don't feel like I sit around watching TV all day, accomplishing nothing. So there's always something to be done.
That's good. That's good because I also think that's like the way it should be. You want to structure your day where you're productive, right? Not busy, but productive. And that's the reason I asked that was because I am trying to build my own kind of like routine and structure my day. And one of the things that I'm noticing is like, as a person, I'm a morning person, right? But I'm also, a night person, which is kind of weird, right? And for me, the way I've been noticing is I like to work in the morning and wake up early in the morning and work to like 12.
Yep.
And then I find myself from 12 to like 5, like just, hanging out or, just going out to eat or being with my family or my girlfriend, things like that, right? And then I find myself coming back, kind of like, your 5 p.m. class. I come back and I come home or, go to a coffee shop and start working. That's kind of like the routine that I'm building now. Yeah. So what advice would you give someone who's looking to open up a gym?
Don't. You're going to need a lot more money and a lot more time than you think. Okay. Right. Again, the advice is going to vary depending on whether you're buying into an existing gym, whether you're creating a new one from scratch. There's so many different options between those two, right? Maybe you're building your own building, or maybe you're taking over a building that needs to be almost completely demolished on the inside and rebuilt, which is the case with the new one. So things always take longer than you imagine, right? When we started this process back in about, can't remember when we sort of, we've been in the process for quite some time. When it started to get serious, I really thought we might be open by the end of the year. And now I'd be surprised if we even started building by the end of the year.
So it's kind of like there's so many unexpected things that happen.
Things just take, it's not that they're unexpected, they just take longer than you think.
Got
right?
it, okay. But there's nothing you really can do about that, right? So
no.
You kind of just have to keep that in mind, essentially.
Yeah, if you're waiting for the architect to do their drawings and mechanical engineering and plumbing to do their drawings, and it takes them a week longer than you thought or they thought, there's nothing you can do, right? And a lot of things are contingent upon something else happening. There's not an awful lot of overlap. So you have to wait for one thing to be done before you start the next. So it's always going to take longer than you expect. When things take longer, they just cost more money, right? So as I say, you need to make sure you've got the right staff. Don't think you can do this on your own. You need people to help you do it.
So I think having the staff is also a big important part, like you just said, because
I'd say it's the biggest part of any business, right? Having the right people,
having the right team around, and making sure that you can trust them, essentially.
Yep, yeah, and that you're all on the same page, right? That you've all got the same sort of vision for where you want the business to go or what you want it to be. And it's important for me to make sure that the team is happy, right? And they're doing it because they want to do it, and not because they have to do it.
What kind of traits do you look for in a person, and so that they can align with your mission?
Yeah, they got to be happy. I think that's key.
Right.
Somewhat humble, right? You want someone that is open to finding the best version of themselves, and if you can help bring that out, then that's going to be great. You don't want someone coming in that thinks they know it all already and is just not open to changing the way they do things. So attitude, right, is probably the number one trait, because you can't really teach or coach attitude. Right? If someone has the right attitude and not quite the right sort of skill set, you can train the skill set, you can coach the skill set that you want. But you could have maybe the best technical weightlifting coach in the world coaching at your gym, and if they never make the members laugh or never smile, right, and just take things way too seriously, that might be good for the one person in class that really wants to PR their clean and jerk.
Yeah.
But for the other 14 people that just want to lift a bit heavier and get a good sweat on and have a good time, that's not going to work for them, right? And there's a pretty good chance you're not going to teach them how to have a good attitude. So attitudes are number one, thing that we really look for, and we just hope we can coach the rest. And if we can't, then you let them go.
Right. Okay.
It's not always going to work out.
I have a few more questions before we wrap up.
Yep.
What was your greatest teacher in life? When was that moment that you were that kind of told you, like, hey, you got to stop doing this, or no, you got to do this kind of thing? What was that? Oh, when was that moment, or who was that person that kind of gave you that, reality check, essentially?
Right. So I'm not sure, like, the reality check thing, but the one piece of advice that I have remembered, and this was probably given to me, I'm not sure how old I was when I would have got this, but from a guy called Ron Noakes, who was the senior manager in the department of the bank I worked in London at the time, when I was probably early 20s, right, maybe 21, 22. And his advice to me was, always do the job that you're doing better than the person did it before, right? And I think what he meant by that was just always look to improve whatever you're doing on how it's been done before, right? Always, never settle for just how things are. How can you always improve them? And that's just something I took throughout my banking career. And then you can apply it to pretty much anything, right? You can apply it to the gym. We're always looking around. We're limited on space. How can we maximize how we store equipment, right? How can we make the gym look a little bit better? Okay. How can we make things better for our members, right? And if you think you've got there, right, you probably haven't, right? There's something else you can be doing differently.
For sure.
So I think that's the thing that always sticks in the back of my mind, and the single biggest piece of advice that I've remembered for probably almost 30 years now. Yeah.
Just pretty much just keep improving,
Keep improving. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like the same approach when I was in school. I actually majored in supply chain, and one of the classes that I was taking was Lean Six Sigma, and all they talked about was continuous improvement. How can you improve, whether that is a manufacturing line or the actual like sales team or your workers, your workforce, right? And the one that it's also about that, the whole continuous improvement aspect of it. I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah.
Okay. So I actually had a question here that said kind of like, what are you planning on expanding? But clearly we know you're going to start expanding.
Yeah.
So
Maggie.
To wrap things up, how can people get in contact with you or your gym?
Okay.
What can you just tell them, like information,
Yep.
your Facebook, your Instagram, your website?
Absolutely. So website's CrossFitJerseyCity.com. The new gym, CrossFitAccomplished.com. Instagram, CF Jersey City.
Okay.
We're not really big on Twitter. Facebook, we sort of have the business page, CrossFit Jersey City. And then we have the closed group for our members, which is CrossFit Jersey City Community. So you have to be a member to be part of that group. It's a pretty exclusive club.
And can they expect when you're going to be opening up the new gym?
At this point, I'm going to guess late first quarter of 2019.
Okay.
Right. As I say, things probably going to take a little bit. That's building in the fact that things probably going to take a bit longer than I imagined. But then it wouldn't surprise me if it's April, right? But if we can get lucky, maybe it'll be February.
Well, hopefully everything turns out well. Russell, thank you so much.
Thanks very much.
Podcast,
yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for having us.
And we'll talk soon.
Okay, great.